Hello, everybody. Hi, Marinette here. I'm not quite sure whether I was going to bother today after such the week I've had, but anyway, I'm here. And as always, welcome to Net That Haul. We're here to dissect what's gone on. More like a post-mortem, quite frankly, for me, but also going to have a look at game week 22 and beyond. And as always, guys, if you like what you see, please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe. And if you hit the bell as well, then you'll get notified of future shows. And as for this week, again, who better? I've got the same gentleman as before, as the other week, and it's Gabe and Surya. So, hello, guys. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Marner. It was like just yesterday I saw you guys, and we are here for another episode. Yeah, games come thick and through. Yeah.
Good. Gabe, you good?
Yeah, doing well. I'm actually glad that the next game week is coming up quickly here to make up for our sins of the last game week.
Yes.
Yeah, and as for sins, I think we may as well just get straight into it, hadn't we? Because let's face it, I think there's going to be a few Hail Marys going around. Certainly, by the time you get to my one, should we say it's been an interesting week. So. Let's get in there. So first of all, seeing as though you topped the list, Surya, 2 minutes, go on, fire.
Yeah. So basically, I was inspired by show from our stream and then by the matchups done by Gabe. So I got in Digne and Sterling as well, but of course that failed miserably. So hadn't I done any transfers, Rafinha would have been in there. I would have gotten another 5-6 points, and that would have been a green arrow, but then it turned to be a red arrow, but a very small one. But nevertheless, I somehow saved Bamford. Bamford somehow saved me, to put it in the right words, and Dallas too helping out with the cheeky goal over there, and pretty much nothing else to talk over there. Fernandez with another blank, and it's been 6-7 game weeks continuously with the captaincy blank, and I don't know what else to do to get a captain written. So I am in just rant mode, basically, which will be continued by Marner in some time. Yeah. Then Salah, I think we all held Salah, and I think he came good. Another shining light in an otherwise dull weekend. Of course, we wanted Digne and Diesel to do well, but the matchup didn't go well to our liking and to what we discussed. But pretty much, let's move on to another game week. That's what I'm looking at. Most likely, I'll roll the transfer as there isn't nothing much to do in this team particularly. But yeah, decent week. Yeah, I think I'm done with my rant in 90 seconds. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that wasn't really a rant. I can assure you're going to get a much better one for me. I mean, look, 62 minus 8.
Yeah.
So I suppose you made up for last week and missing it because of illness. But I mean, yes, you've still done pretty well. 1.75 million game week rank. I think 363k or something like that official rank.
Yeah.
And of course, you benefited from, because I can see what happened here. Sterling and Chilwell didn't play, so you actually benefited. I'm going to guess at Dallas and Bamford. So you benefited to the tune of 22 points off your bench, didn't you?
Yeah. I was lucky.
No, I absolutely hate you, don't you? You know that.
See, I had my vice captain on Salah, and then I put it on Fernandez because I was confident Sterling was going to start.
I'll tell you a story.
Yeah,
Just at the end of the expectations show, Craig and I, off camera, flicked a coin. Both of us got heads. Both of us says that means we're captaining Salah, and neither of us did it.
Well,
there we go. So there we go. Practice what you preach. Yeah. Anyway, so okay, mate. So at the end of the day, I think you've done pretty well. Let's go to Gabe and see how you did, mate. Off you go.
Well, here we go. I mean, I think we have to begin with Everton, right? Everton line up against Newcastle, and we see Dean is not in midfield like we talked about. So that seems like to be a situational thing. I read something on Twitter that I found really interesting, that Dean may play midfield against teams that play 3 at the back, because then he can sit in that pocket of space left open that's naturally left open by a 3-man back line. And then against deep blocks, they're going to put Dean on the back line to change the angle of the crosses so he doesn't run up against that wall. So I found that to be interesting. I think that was maybe a learning lesson for me, something this week. You know, Bamford, I don't like the guy at this point. Like, I got rid of him, and I knew it too. You know, those things that you feel. But I believed in DCL, and I still do. I believe in Ancelotti to kind of bring that team back. So happy to hold for a couple weeks here. And you know, the rest similar to many people. Captain DCL fail. Stones and Cancelo rested, which is fine. I have the bench cover, the bench to cover for that, and Holding and Cresswell came in, which is great. I kind of planned my team that way. I think all in all, it could have been a lot worse. It was the -8 that really hit me, but I'm happy to own Dean and Calvert-Lewin, certainly for the Leeds fixture coming up. So, all in all, you know, we pick up the pieces of our broken selves after this game week, and we put them back together in the Frankenstein mold and get back into it for game week 22.
Yeah, I think broken. Yeah, I think that sums it up quite well, really. I mean, again, 54 points, -8, 3 million game rank, 612k overall. You mentioned Holding coming off the bench, which was good. I mean, to be honest, though, it's just a tale of woe, isn't it? It's just a tale of woe, and it started. And you know, I don't believe this first game thing about captaincy. I genuinely thought that we would do well on Saturday, and I too saw Dean playing deep. I then saw him crossing the ball into the top of the Gladys end 3 or 4 times, and then, you know, I'm about to turn it off actually at one stage. But anyway,
yeah.
So yeah, not great.
Well, one thing I will mention is that I think this game week was a lot of. I think there was a lot of luck involved in the sense that a lot of people have good coverage. I had good coverage, and I had some luck in the players that came in. But it was a lot of just variance and uncertainty. And I mean, some people, things just worked out. Like the variance worked out, and that the players that came in were incredible, and they didn't take hits, and that worked out. And others that weren't so lucky. For me, it was my hits. So for me, it was all about my hits. So that's a decision, not a luck thing for me.
And when you talk about luck, now you move on to me, because this is where I'm going to start the clock this time, because if I don't, and I'm going to rant for about 10 minutes, so I need to see it go. I need to see it go red. Right, here we go. The worst for last, boys. 49 -4, 45, 22 flaming points on the bench. Right? Bamford went from being a wheelie bin to being Lionel Messi again. 0.93 XG. And the last 4 XGs, looking back, 0.03, 0.02. He blanked 0.8 and 0.41. Right. So okay, yes, he's done something in recent weeks, but in his own admission, he wasn't doing that well. And then to compound it, what did he do? First of all, is he set up Dallas, who was also on my bench. So I played Soucek over Dallas. The transfers I made, I took Kyle Walker-Peters and Davis out. And you think, okay, well, they're injured and not playing. But because they were injured and not playing, that meant that Bamford and Dallas stayed on my bench. So that's a hit. And those points. So that's a net -26. Just like that. So if you look at it in another way, then you take 45, you put 26 on it, and you think, actually, the team's doing okay. So that's what I'm trying to tell myself, that I've brought players in for a reason, you know, and they're there now for the longer term. But yeah, Gundo blank, thanks, Pep. The only good thing about it was Martinez and Grealish and Mo, and I didn't captain him because I didn't bet that on that coin. And it's just really what could have been, you know? Soucek over Bamford, captain on Mo, and then took it off and put it on Gundogan. Down to 12.8k. There we go. 1 minute 55 seconds of rant. And I haven't got to Callum Wilson yet. I'm saving that for later.
Yeah.
Exactly 2 minutes. But I mean, look, it was just going to happen, wasn't it? I mean, you're going to get weeks like this, and I think if I think back to earlier in the season, I remember complaining vehemently on expectations about a week where I scored, I think, 40 points, and I just looked at the bad luck, and just on the basis of bad luck, there was another 40 points which went because of narrow decisions on the pitch. And I remember that, and I didn't move anything. And then the next week, it puts itself right. So I've just got to hope that happens again, quite frankly. But anyway, so that's that. So that's my rant. That's my first rant gone anyway. So yeah, down to 12.8. And just sat. I didn't even open the rank. It's always a bad sign, isn't it, when you don't look at your rank in the game week? I just waited till this afternoon to look. Well, the cat's come to say hello. Hello, cat.
So I did something like right before the Liverpool Spurs game. I had sorry the Spurs Brighton game. I only had Son remaining, and I wanted to see how many points I needed from Son to get a gray arrow, and I needed 50 in the what if. I needed 50 points. If Son would have scored 50 points, I would have gotten a gray arrow. So that's how far off. 50. So I used the calculator just to have a little fun because I had to laugh at myself.
I mean, to be honest, it got so bad. I mean, the thing is, I'll just tell you another story about Gillian wildcard, and I helped a wildcard. And I think she's got 25 points with a wildcard. And that team, you saw the team, Gabe. You saw the team.
Yeah.
It's an amazing team. She got 25 points. And of course, who did she take out? Bamford.
And it made sense.
I'm surprised she's not going to come in and throw a drink at me in a minute. I think she's watching it in the other room. But yeah, oh my goodness, it was a bad week. But to be honest, credit to those people who had people like Callum Wilson. I'm going to come on to him in a second. But, they're stuck with him. And sometimes you just have to be patient in this game. But certainly I didn't do so good this week. So anyway, let's move on. Notable performances. Callum, the Troll, Wilson. Oh, hello, Cat. Just better move him out of the way. Callum the Troll Wilson. 4 big chances. Jesus, 2. Bamford, 2. Cavani, 2. Decordova-Reid, 2. Adams, 2 big chances. Shots in the box. Wilson tops it again, 6. Salah, 5. Watkins, 4. Pepe, 4. XG, Wilson, 1.68. He's big troll now, isn't he? Right? The only time that this bloke turns up and plays is when I put I put a bloody Everton defender in, right? In fact, all three of them.
When you play the opposition against him.
Big troll. He trolls me. It doesn't matter whether I own him or whether I don't own him. He just trolls me all the time. I posted a picture of a troll on Twitter on Saturday night. Completely gone. And Wilson's last 5 XGs. Here we go. You ready for this? 0.05, 0.02, 0.42, 0.01, 0.09. 1.68 when we have a defender against him.
I mean, Wilson and Bamford, both of them, it made perfect sense to stay away from them, to realize they're not doing anything. And right when you make moves based on that rationale, then it blows up in your face.
I mean, we've got the 38 FPL podcast. I'm just looking at the comments. No bad mouthing Callum Wilson. To be fair, anyone who owns him, well done. As for me, I think I'm entitled to it this week anyway.
as a Digne owner who got him in for a hit, even I have the right to.
And then of course what happened is you could just see it. Joe on our WhatsApp group on expectations is going to get another one, Chris. Is going to get another one, and he did. God's sake, here we go.
But actually, full credit and fair point to not badmouth Callum Wilson. Full credit to Newcastle. I mean, they came out and they were a totally different team. The four diamond in midfield really overran Everton. They had they overran Everton's midfield so much that the back line got pushed even further back into the box and gave Callum Wilson so much space to operate. But that was a game plan that worked out for Steve Bruce, and Steve Bruce beat Ancelotti in that game, in my opinion. So fair play to Newcastle, really well done. And I hate you, all of it.
I think, well, me too. Because I mean, again, I just look at the fact when St. Maximin's not on the pitch and things like, and you just don't see any. You struggle to see where the goals are coming from. You know, I mean, Callum Wilson has just such a large proportion of that. Of their involvement. It's got to come through him, and if he's quiet, then the whole of Newcastle, the team generally is quiet, right? But yeah, moving on. XA Bamford 1.34. I suppose there's one right at the end, wasn't there, where he just squared it for a tap in? I suppose there's nearly one in XA. Yeah. Ings 0.87. Ings 0.87. Fraser. I mean, I didn't even know who was playing. I certainly didn't recognise him because he's changed his hair. But yeah, he 0.85 for Newcastle. And then an interesting one, and I'd like to touch on him in a minute. Callum Hudson-Odoi, 0.61. We'll come back to him. But I've pulled this tweet out, which I saw, and it was overheard on the commentary. And I'm going to give it pretty much word for word. Sean Dyche to Brady after another Hudson-Odoi overlap. Robbie, tune in. Brady says, I don't know where he effing is. I just can't stop him. What do you want me to do? I have to say, every time he got the ball, he looked like he was going to do something. I don't know about you. Guys, Surya, what do you think of Hudson-Odoi?
Yeah, I think the connection is really good. I think he's been trusted by the manager as well. Tuchel loves him. He rates him very highly. And I think the most of the creativity flows through him, and that shows in the numbers as well. So I'm keeping keen eyes on him. Of course, the Spurs game will be a low-scoring one, definitely. Both the teams look very defensively organized. But post that, I'm definitely looking into him and Rudiger as well. Rudiger and probably Rudiger if I want to save some funds, because Rudiger seems fairly nailed as well. Yeah, but a great assert, and he's very lowly priced as well for most of our liking. So yeah, one to watch out definitely, but not for game week 22, because I do feel it will be a low scoring one, considering how Mourinho will set up come Thursday night.
No,
I mean, I was very impressed with him, I have to say. Gabe, yeah. What did you pick up about it?
So my comments about it are going to kind of harken towards the Little Prince pick of the week, because for me, I want to give full credit to Callum Hudson-Odoi. He has been in the 2 games that Tuchel has been in charge. I think he's been fantastic, super lively, with strength, with speed and power down that flank. And I think that the power is the one thing that Hakim Ziyech, for example, is lacking. He doesn't have the power, but I still don't trust that Callum Hudson-Odoi is going to be nailed in that position. I think Tuchel is a tinkerer, and sometimes he'll want somebody cutting in with finesse on the inside, and other times, hey, what's up, Oliver? Sorry about the cone on your head there. And then
he's not well. He's got his cone on.
Yeah, he's got his cone on. I hope you feel better.
Carry on, saying
and I think other times he'll want Callum Hudson-Odoi to kind of get around the outside of the defender. I think it's going to depend on the matchup, but I think this has largely to do with matchup. That left side of the Burnley defense is something that, I mean, just if we go back, I'll talk about it later with the Little Prince pick of the week, but the left side of Burnley defense is a problem. Brady's a problem, and I'll give some stats for their upcoming matchup against City in a little bit. Or should I do it now?
It was quick ball, wasn't it? They were getting it to him quickly, exposing Peters, and again, the moment that James came on, they did the same thing, and James had a couple of very good chances in quite short order, didn't he? Same way. So I think Hudson-Odoi is an interesting option, and credit Gabe for the shout on Alonso. We'll give you that one. He did score, although he did miss a pretty header, which he probably should have got in the first half as well.
So I was looking back, and I think it was it you, Surya, that mentioned him, or was it maybe it was the Bangers?
No, there was a mention of him, and I think the general comment was, look at, because we were looking at the heat map of Chilwell, weren't we? And we were saying, look at that. You could just imagine Alonso playing in that slot. And then, of course, I think, like I said, the bangers and Golonzo, as Siva's saying now in the chat. Yeah. I mean, clearly, there was a rumor that he might start, so we can't take credit. We can't take credit for that. But what we can, I think Banger can have that one, but he can't. He's not doing a show this week, so he can't take the credit.
So that's right. So we're going to take it since he's not doing.
So we'll take it for him and just put it out there that he did really well.
So the one thing Dice actually commented on, or not Dice, Tuchel commented on Alonso and said that what he said was that he wanted more height on the back line because of the way Burnley play. So just something to think about if it's a team that sends long balls and have tall players, that Alonso might be involved. I don't know.
I think that's a fair shout. I think that's a fair shout. Yeah, very good. Right, anyway, let me go through the Hall of Shame. I didn't have a lot of time, so I literally looked quite quickly at this one. Right, Bowen, 0 XG, 0.00. Rodrigo, second time in 2 weeks, 0.00.
Got injured.
Went off injured. What time? He went, but not early, did he? Second half, end of the first half, start the second.
At least 30 minutes in.
Podencio, 0. And McGinn, 0. So there's 4 zeros there, 0 XGs. So so I think that's just generally. I think obviously we can talk about other things as we go through it. But what we're going to do now, I think, is we're going to have a quick look at City because I think there's a couple of quite interesting things which we spotted. And clearly, I actually thought long and hard even about doing this section because, quite frankly, Pep ruined it by basically changing out the side. But then I thought again, after our chat, and I thought, no, let's go for it because I think it's just as good a lesson to learn because I think it does tell a story. So let's first of all look at City, and then I think we've got a little bit on Son as well. So let's go to City first. And Gabe, you mentioned that KDB's creativity was cut in half last week by sort of like Cancelo and Gundogan. Actually, when I saw the team sheet, I felt like cutting Pep in half. Actually, quite frankly. So maybe it was quite a good analogy at the end of the day. But so. As I said, it's probably a good job you're here because I think I'd be describing it in a lot more flowery language. So I'll let you give your view on City, and in particular, I think obviously you've singled out Cancelo, although should we say the lack of him? Right.
So we have here at the heat map on the left-hand side is Man City up until game week 20 with Cancelo, or sorry, not up until in game week 20 with Cancelo. And we can see how kind of the attacking half is pretty full. Then on the other side, on the right, we see against in game week 21 without Cancelo, and there's a big hole in the middle. And that big hole in the middle is that right side of center midfield that Cancelo has been operating in since KDB went down. Now we see on the left side it's still pretty dark, and that's Gundogan's area, right? But Gundogan, without a partner, without that double 10, he's missing an outlet. So he gets stuck, and he gets stuck a little bit further back as well. If we look at the Man City game week 21 without Cancelo, there's the red box where he's missing, but there's also a little chunk at the little triangle right on the left side of the well, sorry, if you're Man City, it's on the right side, and then the tip of the box, right? There's a little triangle there as well that he operates in. It's just it's just a lot of the creativity missing from the side when you don't have somebody to help you switch the point of attack around the box. Because around the box, what happens when you get the ball, you get pressure quite quickly. So you need somebody right next to you as an outlet, and then they'll switch the point of attack. Without that person right next to them, they can't switch the point of attack, so the attack gets stifled. If we look at the Man City game week 21 without Cancelo, there's a dark red. If you're looking at the red box, to the bottom right of the red box, that dark red area, yes, right in there. That's where Jesus parks. That's Jesus's heat map right there. So when Jesus plays, again, there's some talk that when Man City play with a true number 9, that creativity is stifled, that Jesus doesn't work. Well, he's not really playing as a true 9. He's actually playing off center of the 9. And what's happening is he's pushing, him filling in that spot that you're highlighting there is pushing Gundogan a little bit further back, because Gundogan can't get close to the box because Jesus is taking that space. So Gundogan is without a partner and further back, and then they don't have any presence on the other side, and Man City's creativity is kind of gone. And we see kind of what happened in the first 15 game weeks of the season, or first 13 game weeks of the season, where they're possessing the ball and they're possessing kind of on the perimeters, and they can't get the ball inside. And that's what we saw happen this game. And the loss of Cancelo is huge. But on the flip side of that, right, if we take the opposite lens, the inclusion of Cancelo is also huge. And that's why I'll harken back to the article saying that Cancelo is, when he plays, he is a decent captain shout because of this. He's so pivotal to Man City's creativity when Kevin De Bruyne is not there.
Yeah, I have to say it was very noticeable. I mean, that hole is bigger than my hole in my bank balance at Christmas, isn't it? Still, I mean, it's so obvious, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And as I say, it was painful to watch. I mean, the only hope I had of Gundogan getting anything as my captain was from dead balls.
Yeah,
that was the only thing I saw, was just the chance of perhaps getting something from a corner or from a free kick. Because to be fair, his delivery was pretty good, wasn't it? Dear me. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, hopefully Cancelo should play this week, and like you say, Gabe, he probably is a captaincy shout if you are that way inclined.
And we'll talk about his matchup shortly here.
Yeah. All right. So, and just moving on to Spurs. Again, Gabe, just come to you, and then Surya will bring you in on both points.
Yeah, so the heat map on the left is showing us kind of Son's traditional positioning when Kane plays, and the one on the right is their last match. Now we see three things that stand out. One, it's the positioning is not totally different. Because the one on the left is a multitude of games, I don't know, 15 or 20 games, and the one on the right is just one game. So if we make the one on the right, we blow it up over several games, the four dark circles, the 4 red circles there that we see in the heat map on the right, they'll grow and they'll look more like the heat map on the left.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that circle that you put in the red box. So when Kane plays, he drops in central midfield and he becomes the link player. Kane links to Son, and then Son goes back to Kane, right? So Son really only has to get back to around midfield when Kane is on the field. When Kane is not on the field, that dark red, that's where that's how far back Son is getting back on the field to receive the ball. Now, when Son receives the ball there, he can't pass it to himself running up the wing. And this is where Tottenham is really struggling, is now Son has become the link player, and they've lost quality in their target player if he's the link player. Kane is a link player, Son is a target, high quality in both areas, but Kane's out, so they need a different target. I might expect Vinicius to get some time. Carlos Vinicius, he could be a link player. He's better as a target 9. I don't know if he has the speed, but I would just keep an eye on Carlos Vinicius if Kane's going to be out for a few more weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, from my perspective, I looked at his numbers, of course, and it looks like he's certainly shots in the box seem to have dropped off a little bit. So he's maybe not getting quite so much penalty box involvement. Sorry, your view?
Yeah, I think I was wrong. In fact, I said there wouldn't be much of a difference without Kane. Son would be the same player. But of course, he's dropping deep, and there isn't. Son is basically a clinical finisher. He's always overperformed his XG. He's been getting chances right through his career. But without Kane, those chances are not being presented to him. And of course, It's a boring. It was a very boring watch and very boring asset to own. Probably for that would remain the same for the next 2-3 weeks at least, as Kane is ruled out for a couple of weeks, is what Mourinho confirmed. So nothing much to add to what.
No. Game week 24, I think they're talking about Kane possibly being back for. So at least it looks like he might be back in time for that juicy double game week. We've got to decide what to do next week, haven't we? Because I think some people haven't brought Son in, and really, you'd think that he would be a very, very good captain shout next week, but we'll have to see what happens there. Maybe that I go Antonio. Anyway,
Someone mentioned in the chat, it was Tavindra Raj mentioned in the chat that Brighton have kept 3 clean sheets in a row.
Now, I'm going to come on to that, actually, when we talk about the captaincy. I've got some stats on Brighton. To be quite honest, I'm again going to make a case for everybody not to be the captain, I think. Let's have a look anyway. Right, very quickly, and I'll rattle through this because obviously it's only really just a couple of days since we talked about fixture difficulties and things. But the attacking returns look like they're harder to come by again. You just get that feeling that I think there was 8. I think it might have been 8 clean sheets. I think this weekend, off the top of my head. And I think, like you said last week, Gabe, it's probably down to the fact that there's quite a lot of big players sidelined at the moment. So I think teams are losing a bit of their creativity, and the defensive side of things are starting to come up trumps a little bit. I mean, the move as well, Liverpool have come up a bit on the back of that performance. And Man U are coming off, as are Spurs, interestingly enough, on attack. I mean, very quickly, without going through the numbers, top 3 for XG, Man City, 2.38, Tottenham second, Arsenal third. Worse with respect to XG, Palace, then Everton. Everton, second worst for XG now over the last 6 games, 0.67 in every 90. It's worrying for me. And notably, Man U, Leicester, Liverpool, West Ham, Villa, all around 1.6 XG per 90 in around 4th to 8th place. So sort of like there or thereabouts, but not really tearing any trees up. Shots in box, Manchester City, as I expect, at the top. Liverpool second now. Arsenal third. And at the bottom, Burnley and West Brom. 4 shots average per 90 minutes. And Palace 4.33. And Burnley 4 shots per 90 minutes with Wood. Now without Wood. So
how long is he out?
I don't know, but I think he's going to be out, isn't he? I think he's doubtful at least. So let's assume he's not going to be there. But and of course they still haven't got Barnes back yet either. So they look a little bit toothless to say the least. And big chances again. Manchester City top it. Spurs still up there, and West Ham and Liverpool. And on the wrong end of the big chances with respect to attack, Palace and Everton. Everton, 1 big chance every 2 games. Again, if as a stat man, I'm owning Calvert-Lewin. I've got one of the second worst defences in the attacks in the league at the moment. It's all your fault, Gabe.
I know, it's true.
I mean, what I've done is I've actually just highlighted Fulham and West Brom because, quite frankly, I think those 2 sides. You just look at the visually. It tells you that any attack who matches up against Fulham or West Brom are going to do okay, I think. So West Brom play Sheffield United, Spurs, Man U and Burnley, and Fulham play Leicester, West Ham, Everton and Sheffield. So again, I think we have to target these teams, I think. And particularly if you're coming up to a wild card, perhaps in 25, now might be the time to have a bit of a gamble. If you are gonna wild card, maybe now is the time to hop on and hop off. If you've got no fires you need to put out, so those 2 might not be bad targets actually.
Can I mention something that I saw there that's changing? Sheffield United is turning red as a fixture. It's becoming a difficult fixture.
Yeah, and I think if you look at defensively here, I think you can see that Sheffield United So this is as a defence. So they've got green here. Look, so that means their defence is now starting to perform. Look, look, Crystal Palace and Everton. Potentially they're very strong against those teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that comes to pass or not remains to be seen, because it's obviously that just these are numbers. But at the end of the day, I think there is a developing pattern that Sheffield United are now on the turn. Yeah. They just can't score much. That's the problem. I think that's going to be their Achilles heel, quite frankly. Defensive wise, very quickly again, Man City, from the point of view of expected goals conceded, Man City still best, twice as good as anyone else, 0.42 in every 90 minutes. Arsenal, then West Ham, bad West Brom, 2.2 expected goals conceded, Fulham 2, and Villa 1.87. So Villa are coming off at the moment with respect to defence. So does that suit the West Ham attack? Who knows? Let's not talk about Soucek again, please. But anyway, notably, Spurs 6th worst, now for expected goals conceded, and Sheffield United 7th best. So they're moving in the right direction. Shots in box conceded, Man City, Liverpool, and West Ham at the top. At the wrong end of the stick, West Brom, Burnley, and Villa again. And Spurs are 4th worst, and Sheffield United are 5th best. And big chances, Man City and Leicester and Arsenal, but Man City, at least 2.5 times better than both of those two. And as for bad with respect to big chances conceded, Fulham, West Brom, Chelsea. Villa notably 5th worst, Brighton 7th best. So that's that, but that's over 6 game weeks. Now I'm going to come on to another stat a little bit closer towards the end of the show when we talk about the captaincy, and you'll see things have changed a little bit. But of course, what happens is the matchup looks over a longer period of time, right? So and then just the fixtures, just very quickly again. I'm not going to go into this, but obviously people can freeze it and look at this. But again, it doesn't look to me that there are many really good attacking matchups in the coming weeks. It seems like the defensive matchups are getting better and better and better. And therefore, I think we are now strongly into a position where we might want to be considering 4-4-2. I would probably say something like that. Let's say Sean at Bergen Boy on Twitter has already gone to 5, or it was virtually gone to 5 at the back already. I don't think it's a bad shout at all. So that's the fixture difficulties and everything. I mean, looking at this one just very quickly again, if we're talking about which teams are good at the moment, attacking wise, obviously Man City, Man United, Spurs, and Leicester. Defensive wise, Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and Leicester. And if you're talking about average, so we're talking about, again, when we spoke last week about our defensive attackers, I think you're talking Man City, United, and Leicester. So you're immediately looking Cancelo, Shaw, and then the Leicester fullback conundrum, in my view. That would be where I would be going if I'm looking for a potential very, very tasty asset, I think, at the moment. Guys, anything you'd like to add?
Just that I think it's important to shout that Leicester's attack hasn't really been stifled that much with the loss of Jamie Vardy, and that's something that I didn't want in. That was part of the reason I didn't want in on Leicester, is because I didn't know how they would be without him. And I have to say they've come through. We have the 38 FPL podcast that they're asking me to shout out a player I've never heard of, H. Barnes. I don't know who this player is. So I don't know if you guys can talk about Barnes.
Well, we did call him in the differential captain, and it didn't take long for that one to come in, did it? But anyway, that's about the only thing I did right last week. Anyway, okay, so we're on to Soucek Watch for potato salad lovers everywhere. But I'm afraid I think he'd probably left the lid off his potato salad this week. because he didn't do particularly very well, unfortunately. And neither did our picks, because I went for Mings and failed. And I think both went for Antonio and failed, if I recall.
No, I went Maguire and I failed. And
He failed anyway. So yeah, he was another one who failed. So we had 3 out of 3 failures. So that's good. So it's always nice to have 3 big red crosses. If I looked at it this week, and again, this is a bit of fun, but it's always worth doing it. Leicester against Fulham. First of all, Leicester 1.5 headers in 90 against Fulham, conceded 3.6 in 90. Trouble for me is I can't think for the life of me who I might want to back to score a header for Leicester. Because I'm not entirely sure. Chelsea against Spurs, 2.5 against 2.4. That might have been a Zuma day, if indeed Zuma was playing. Newcastle against Palace, 2.6 against 2. Oh, God. Do you know what? Do you know who my pick is this week for a header? Callum bloody Wilson.
It's perfect. You have to.
It had to be.
Bloody Wilson is my pick on Soucek Watch this week. To be fair, and we slammed Pickford on the show last week, didn't we? He made the most amazing save against Callum Wilson with that header at the end of the first half. He nearly scored last week with his head. So no, I'm going with Callum Wilson. Have you got anyone you'd like to shout out this week, Gabe? Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with a budget defender and Tony Rudiger.
Right.
I think Rudiger cements his spot and relegates Zuma to obscurity, unfortunately.
I'm writing this down, so I've got it for next week. So Rudiger, right? Okay.
Rudiger.
And sorry,
Yeah, I had two players in mind. Rudiger was one, and I have DCL as well. So I think Leeds are very bad in defending set pieces, and I think DCL could be a very good shout. And I at least desperately hope that he scores one goal, just for the fact that I got him in for a hit. Yeah, so those two.
Well, I desperately hope that Digne crosses for him.
We have the one.
We all three of us, all three of us want the same combo. Yeah.
Oh God! Right.
Well,
anyway.
One choice is the player that trolled us. The other choice is the player that we wanted to work out that we called last week. So we're
you couldn't make this shit up, could you? I've just slagged Callum Wilson off for about half an hour and 40 minutes. We're 43 minutes into the show. I've slagged him off for about 20 minutes of it, and now I've picked him in Soucek Watch.
Perfect.
Oh God! Anyway, right. So that's where we go. So we'll see how we do next week. And as I say, it's always good for a giggle anyway, if nothing else. Gabe, Little Prince this week.
All right.
Let's look at last week. We didn't really get it, but we did in a sense, because we at least got a clean sheet somehow. And I'm not quite. I hold my hand up here. I got 10 points from Martinez, and I have not even watched a minute of that game. I was so busy with other stuff, I never had a chance. But I understand. We got away with it by the skin of our arse.
Some asses have more skin than others.
Oh my God! Yeah.
If it were Luke Shaw there, he would not have been offside. If it was Luke Shaw.
My goodness.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally agree.
You say Luke Shaw's got a big ass there.
But I have to say, Matty Target played lights out. He played so well. He was one of the best players on the field. And he got the clean sheet. I thought he would get an assist. So it didn't entirely work out, but it worked out in the sense of that he was a good player in a good spot that played really well. I think he lucked into that clean sheet. For me, that's a hands down goal. I don't know why they don't know what offside is in the Premier League, and they don't know what a handball is. But
I'm not complaining, mate. My week was complete shit. That would have just wiped me out completely. I think I'd have a team. God damn it. If I'd have lost that 10 points, that'd have been a complete disaster. And like I said, you look at it and you think the skin of somebody's short, the thickness of somebody's shorts is the difference between 10 points and what, 3 save points, 4, 3 or 4 probably. Oh my goodness. But anyway, this week I've got. Are you playing roulette lens this week?
I don't think I'm going to do it.
You changed your mind?
I don't know. I'm still weighing it. It would be a lot of fun if it works out. If it doesn't work out, I don't know if I can take another heartbreak like last week where I went. I'm like, okay, I thought it was the right time to take a risk last week, and I still believe that idea was right. I just picked the wrong players.
You can bring him in for that. You could shout him out for this section of the show if you want. You don't have to transfer.
I will. Yeah. So for this. So here's my little Prince pick of the week for this week is Riyad Mahrez. I know the trolls everywhere rejoice, right? All the trolls in all their caves are rejoicing right now.
Well, Gabe, I just tweeted out. He has a very good record against Burnley, so maybe it works out. Maybe it works out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and he's been benched for 40% of the last 3 games. So you'd think, well, you never know, do you? You'd think he might start. I did sort of like tinker. I've got tons of money, and I could bring him in if I wanted to, because I'm that pissed off with Gundogan.
Yeah. So quick number, guys. He has got 42. Yeah, he's got 42 points against Burnley in his last 3 games. 42 points in last 3 games against Burnley. Yeah.
So here's that background. He started against Burnley in 3 of the last 4 games. In the one that he didn't start, he came on as a sub and scored. Right. In the last 7 matches, City have played Burnley. The player that plays on the right wing has scored 8 goals and has had 3 assists. The player that plays in right center mid, so the KDB area that's going to be filled by Cancelo, has had 9 assists and 2 goals in the last 7 games against Burnley.
I think I'm getting sold here by.
Oh God, he's going to do it again! Look, he got me to bloody transfer. I bloody hit DCL and bloody Dean in last week, and it cost me 20 sodding 6 points. Look what you're doing to me, Gabe.
Well, here's the caveat: just because it makes sense does not make it right. But
no, look, at the end of the day, that's the shout. So the Little Prince is from Algeria this week.
And then here's just a little bit more, and going back to the FDR, right? Burnley for defense and Man City against Burnley, they're at 4.0 in your FDR. For attack, they're at 2.7, both highly green. So good for defense, good for attack, and that area of the field. I'll either go Gundogan to Mahrez and Captain Mahrez, or I will do nothing, roll my transfer, and I will Captain Cancelo. Because I want that right side of the field. If it's Cancelo there, if it's Mahrez there, I want one of those.
I don't think my little weak heart will take Captain and Cancelo, mate. Not after my last 2 Captain Blanks. You probably hear the scream from LA if we just smile up with the ball goes off someone's ass into the net, and that's it. There's the clean sheet gone. So, although you've got to say that again, you're starting on 6 points, aren't you, Cancelo? Really, this week, you have to consider it that way.
No way.
Okay, so that's the Little Prince. So that's that part of the show done. I mean, what did we say before the start? We'll try and get it all done by 45 minutes and take questions. Fat chance. I knew it wouldn't happen. Anyway. So, captain picks. I've even got the week wrong. Look, it should be 21.
Anyways, we got the captain choice wrong. It's okay. It's just the game.
Yeah, don't worry. Anyway, Sterling didn't play. But do you know what? I'm claiming the second place because I think I'm going to claim Grealish because he was second on the metric and the only one who played, so I'm having it. So whilst it says Sterling there, Grealish did return. That's the wrong way around. The metric. What's I doing? I balls this up, haven't I? It was the metric last week. Was it Bruno? Or was the cat was Bruno? No, the metric
the metric was Sterling.
The metric was Sterling.
Metric was Sterling.
And the cat Sterling. Anyway, I've cocked it up. Anyway, who cares? The cat went for Son, and he got that wrong as well. Idiot. So here he is. But at least we got the differential right. You know, with Harvey Barnes. And to be fair, you know, that was a really good call, and it could have been either Barnes or Maddison, quite frankly, couldn't it? But we went with Barnes. But yeah, so I'm happy enough with that. So we'll see how we do. The metric, as I say, I put the Grealish vice captain in there. So the metric itself is now in front of me with respect to success and behind me with respect to projected points. But, you know, I'm now on 2 blanks on the trot run for my own captaincy, which is hurting me. Although I've only dropped, like I say, 6,000 places, but it's enough. So I need to put this right, and this is right when we come to talking about captaincy, Gabe. This is where I'm thinking of going back to not thinking too much. I think, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, but you know, at the same time, the metric 71% success rate, myself 67. Considering this time last year, I was absolutely dreadful at about 50% hit rate. I've got to just accept it and go with it. So I'm not too bad there. Captaincy with the poll, I only put it out this morning, 997 votes in 10 hours. So that's really going some. Thanks, everybody, for taking part in this. It's always a very important part of it, if nothing else, because it gives the cat the choice of which one to pick. But I think it gives us a nice... We're starting to get to a point now where we're getting quite a nice number from the community to see where the community is possibly going, which is always very, very useful indeed. And we're looking at Salah, but clearly. Yeah. Now, that could be a bit of a knee-jerk from him finally returning, albeit what looked like goals on the... Certainly one of them was an amazing goal on the break. Well, that won't happen, will it? Next week, this week, probably against Brighton. There's no chance of him getting a goal.
Will never pass like that again in his life.
No, that's not going to happen. And then we've got Sterling and Bruno, and quite frankly, you can hardly split them. But like I say, Sterling just slightly above Bruno, and Grealish. I put Grealish in, but we'll come on to Grealish in a minute because it's quite an interesting point on Grealish, I think, this week. So let's have a look, see how what the cat decided to do. Here we go. We got the game week right on this one, didn't we? Bloody hell. This cat. You're on TV, you idiot. Gives me a chance to just...
Left side. Right side.
Yeah. On the right side. It's gone down the right. Oh, God.
Bruno.
Oh. He went Bruno. So there we go.
He loves Bruno.
He does, doesn't he?
He loves Bruno.
He loves Bruno.
Really does.
Bruno. So that's Mrs. Mariner's pick. Although, to be honest, she didn't. I don't think she put it on him last week. She was meant to go Son, and she didn't.
You both went against.
I don't think it made any difference anyway. So I think she went Sterling and ended up with Bruno as a vice captain anyway. But yeah, so that's where we are with that one. And then we move to the metric, and what does that say this week? And what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'd like to spend 5 minutes on this, actually going through these choices, because I think this is a lot closer than that poll, personally. A lot closer. If we look at it from the start, Sterling tops the metric. Probably, obviously, his numbers aren't going to change from last week because he didn't play. But the fixture difficulty is still fairly favourable for them. And pretty favourable. Not as favourable as the previous. Not as favourable as as it was the West Brom game the other week. I think that was 130. So it just shows that it's a lot. It's a tighter game. But it is the best matchup. But it does have Nick Pope on a cold night in Burnley again, as I always say. But Burnley are not numbers wise 4th worst for expected goals conceded, mid-table for big chances conceded, 2nd worst for shots in box conceded. That's a worrying stat for me. Shots in box conceded. If they're conceding a lot of shots in there, if players turn up, that could mean goals for me. And Man City, best XG, best big chances, best shots in box. So we know that anyway. 12.2% owned. What's your views on Sterling, Surya, this week?
Yeah, I think he's historically not played against Burnley, but that seems to be changed this week because of course he's been rested last time, so he's fairly nailed enough to start and he tops the metric. So I think I'm most likely going to leave it on Sterling once again. Hopefully, 2nd time lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Sterling, I don't own him, so he's out the window, and I'm not captaining Gundogan. If it was the last player on earth now, that's it. He's done. So he's toast. He's probably still in my side at the moment. He's toast. There's the question of where is Mahrez in the metric? He's not in the metric because he hasn't played enough time in the last 6 games. That's why. Yeah. So because he rotates too much, he's not in there. He's not considered. Just move on, and I'll bring you in, Gabe, for the next one. Actually, Grealish. The fixture looks good, but it works out on the last. But it's working out from going back further. But if you look at West Ham just recently, they've really tightened up with respect to defensively. 3rd best for shots in box conceded, 7th best for big chances conceded, 5th best for expected goals conceded. And of course, Villa are okay and are improving, I think, on the back of Barkley coming back in. But I don't think this is as good a matchup as the metric actually suggests it is. What's your perspective?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's that great of a matchup. I think West Ham are finding some form, and they have to now moving forward. I think they don't need to take as many risks with Antonio back, whereas before they had to get more bodies in the box. I think Benrahma is also playing better, which increases their attacking threat, and I see Kufal and Cresswell really just sitting back, and I see them playing a deep block, taking the box away. And so someone mentioned this in the chat, and I agree with them. They're going to have to be very clinical. Grealish, Villa is going to have to be very clinical against them, I think. Yeah. Now, Grealish is such a dynamic player. He creates so much from nothing that I think that gives him. I think he belongs in this list, but not my favorite matchup of the week.
No, but I'm not sure I would. I'm just looking at this. I'm not sure I would put him above the likes of Salah or Fernandes, quite frankly, this week. That's my own just general perspective. So, right. I mean, I wrote down in my notes that, again, I've got this Dawson and Ogbonna team sort of like partnership in my head. They look like they're doing pretty well at this moment in time, and I think it will be a tougher nut. I mean, moving on to Bruno, very quickly looking at Bruno, the numbers. Southampton, last 3, 7th worst for XGC, worse for big chances conceded in the box, and 7th worst for shots in box. So when they concede chances, the big ones, it seems to be anyway. And Man U, really quite meh. 7th for XG, 7th for big chances, 8th for shots in the box. Really, for Man U at the moment, off the boil. Although Bruno's own numbers in the last, he's still got an XA of 0.41. So he still looks like there's something there, but it just looks to me like he's certainly not scored an open play for some time, and they look a little bit off the boil, really. Surya, your view?
Yeah, I think they have been extremely lucky. In fact, defensive numbers are very poor, but then actual goals considered is pretty less compared to what the numbers show. So hopefully, it's not hope. I think that the bridge has to be the bridge gaps something very soon. So they should be starting to consider goals as well. And I don't see that improving too. So I think it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are at home against Southampton. I'm not. We always said these players don't become bad overnight. We said last week, didn't we? We might. I dare say. I think I might have said it. Salah's probably going to score 2 or 3 goals, and we'll be talking about him as an outstanding captaincy shout. And look, we're now talking about him about a captaincy shout. Whether it's an outstanding one remains to be seen. I think it's the obvious one. Particularly if in doubt, Captain Salah, and I wish I did that last week. But we're going to come on to Salah now.
The one thing I want to say something quickly about Southampton here. Southampton concede a lot of big chances in the box, so I can see Bruno perhaps getting an assist, but I don't really see him getting a goal here because Bruno operates outside the box.
Yeah,
so
true.
Just something to keep in mind. I like the matchup better actually for Rashford than for Bruno. But Bruno can always get something. He can always get a pen. So that is a decent shout.
That's what I was just going to say. Is there's always a chance for a penalty, or as the 38 FPL podcasters just said on the chat, a jammy assist.
Right.
Well, yeah. But yeah, let's see how that goes. But again, I'm not. The cat's knocking things off the thing now. It's clearly fed up. So let's quickly look at Salah. There's rumours of a bit of a rotation risk. I don't think I buy that. I think, why would you bench somebody who has just started to get back into form and needs to play and needs to score goals and needs to get his confidence up? I realise there is some big games coming up, but that said, I just think he'll play. So I think that rotation risk, I personally don't think that's going to be an issue. But I'll tell you what I think might be an issue, and that's Brighton's defence, right? And again, if you talk about it, this looks at a longer period, this metric. If we look at it over the last 3 game weeks, expected goals conceded, Brighton, 0.61 for every 90 minutes, second best. Big chances conceded in the last 3. Best. They haven't conceded a single big chance in the last 3 games. Not one. And shots in the box, 5 in every 90, which is 5th best. So Brighton's defence is no mean. They're playing pretty well. They're in form at the moment, and we know how they're going to set out. We know what they're going to set up to do. And Liverpool, and Gabe, I'm going to bring you in on this one because this is right up your street. 4th best XG, 6th best big chances, the best shots in the box. So looks like they're going to get, they're going to create things, but are Brighton a really tough nut to crack? I fear they might be.
So I wrote about Brighton a few weeks ago in the matchups column, and Brighton are a tough nut to crack unless they crack themselves, and that's really been the problem with Brighton. That they break up, red cards, penalties, own goals, and that's really been their downfall. Their stats, their defensive stats have been good all season. And I think they've kind of cleaned those mistakes up a little bit. It seems in the past 3 games they have 3 clean sheets. In the last 3, and I think they will make things difficult. It's going to be a team and a player in Liverpool kind of hitting form, and a Brighton team hitting defensive form, and I think it could go either way. You could see Salah scoring a couple of worldies. You could see Mane. Well, I don't know if Mane is Mane going to be fit.
Well, we don't know. There's doubt for still doubt.
if he's out, obviously we like Salah a little bit more, right? If
I think so.
plays, so I don't know. I think there's some peril with this captain shout, but it's going to be by far the highest captain choice this week, and it's a good opportunity for those that are chasing the ranks like me to differentiate. Famous last words, right? Just like last week. But I'm going to
as he gets 40 return, and then you're on the show on Friday evening, 11 o'clock at night, boys. By the way, just to shout out the next show. Crying, but it might be me as well. I mean, I've been hoping for the last few weeks that Robertson's going to cover me from if I don't want to captain him. But of course, there's another problem I've got. I didn't even get on to Robertson. That's another question for a few minutes. Just to finish this section, then, I pulled the Fantasy Football Hub Anytime Returns. Credit to them. Their website's amazing. I love it. And Salah, 64%. Right? Tops it. Jesus, 62. Mahrez, 62. Sterling, 61. Fernandes, 59. Cancelo, 58. Interesting, huh? I still can't bring myself to do it, Gabe, but it's just make fantasy fun again, right? I can't captain him. Maybe if I was chasing that, like you say, you need a big differential, but I just feel I probably need a shield pick here, and I think I just feel it's Salah for me this week. I've just got to not overthink it.
And then Mariner, I think that starts. I think that speaks to your rank. If I were ranked in and around 10K, I would go with the shield pick and Salah. If you're trying to catch up, then it's a good week to try that. There are some weeks where you really should just go with the herd.
Well, I'm on for herd immunity personally, mate. That's what I'm going for. So it's going to be. I think it'll be Salah for me. And the next one, and so we're now going to move on to the last section of the captain's part of the show, where of course normally we'd split these up, but because the games are coming thick and fast, we're having to chuck them together. And I'm going to come over to Surya for this one, because this is Surya's pick from the All About FPL website. And I'm going to give you credit for this, Surya, because quite frankly, I didn't have a bloody clue who to pick this week. So I've gone with yours. I could have gone for Harvey Barnes, which is to be honest, guys, I cannot look past as a serious pick. No disrespect, Surya, but as a serious pick, I don't think we can look beyond Harvey Barnes or Maddison again. But I don't want the same one twice. So here we go. The differential of the week is Pereira from West Brom. What's the number of people watching the thing go down by about 15? Now, how many do you? Come on, tell me why. Tell it to me.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's been the playmaker for West Bromwich Albion, and Big Sam likes him very much, and for the fact I'm pretty bored about writing Maddison and Barnes week in and week out. In fact, I did mention him in the Differentials blog, but then our number one differential for this week is Matheus Pereira. Of course, there isn't much of stats to back this up, because we did compare Barnes and Pereira, and Barnes outdid Pereira in a lot of areas, but still I have a very good gut feeling that Pereira would come good, and he's been in form. It's not just my gut telling that Pereira will come good. He's got the goals in the last couple of weeks, so I fancy him getting at least a goal or an assist. I just like the one guy, FPL Matt, I guess, I'm not sure, who got him in for the double game week and captained him. I think he became an overnight legend. So probably that's me hoping.
But I mean, I just think points wise, 13 points. This recent hauls, 13, 9, 15, 8 bonus points recently, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is no wild pick. He's scored 4 goals in the last 5 games and 1 assist.
Yeah. But still very, very less owned and very less talked about. So that's the reason I bought it and created a bit of a ruckus in the community. Because to be honest, guys, it's been too much of Harvey Barnes, and Gabe is smiling. I think he's not approving of the fact.
but look, I mean, look, and the reason I've left Harvey Barnes in there, because if you look in the middle, Harvey Barnes is the red. and you'll see that actually Pereira outdoes him on expected points, on XG, on big chances. You know, he doesn't have as many shots, but also on things like
nobody has as many shots as Harvey Barnes. He has
nobody. No, that's very true.
He shoots for fun. Yeah, correct.
No, that's very true.
Too well for fun, but shoots for fun.
But and look, he looks like he's certainly, again, you know, he's getting in the box, he's getting in around. His heat maps are quite interesting. I just think it's a nice. If you owned him, I'm not saying you would captain him, but you know, let's face it. If there's a week that I think Sheffield United are going to go for it. Don't you? I've got a feeling they might go for it. It might leave one or two holes. Gabe, you mentioned the other week about the way Sheffield United play. Could this play into Pereira's hands?
Yes, and I mean the thing about Pereira is you see him move around, kind of float from one side of the field to the other side, and that's what I like about him in this matchup. You know, there's some comments in the chat here saying, well, what about the Sheffield United wall, right? And you mentioned it. So when Sheffield United play smaller teams, they will get out of that wall. And the way they get out of that wall is they send mostly Baldock up the right-hand side. So we see in West Brom's game against Wolves here how Pereira was kind of more on the right side of the center midfield there. But in the game against Fulham, he's more on the left side, right? So I think he's going to choose this side. And if Pereira, I think he is, from what I've seen, he is an intelligent, lively player. He's a cunning player with some, you know, some tricks up his sleeve, and I think he'll see the pockets of space that are vacated by Basham and Baldock and sit in this game on the left side of that central midfield. And that's a really, really good shout. I like it.
Well, we'll see anyway. We'll see what happens. But I mean, look, it's like you say, it's one of those ones which, if you own him, you certainly wouldn't bench him. You'd play him, wouldn't you? And I'm not saying you would captain him, but you'd certainly give him a run out. So no, fantastic. So that's that one. So that's the differential, and then there we go. So we've got community, Paul Sala, Metric Sterling, Catpick Bruno, differential Pereira, and you know, I did look who Leicester were playing first of all. Sorry, I've got to be honest. Then I realised it was the wrong Pereira you were talking about. Oh God. Anyway, right. So we're on to the Q&A, and I've got a note here which says aim to be here by 45 minutes. Fat chance. Oh God. And to be honest, I don't know what's going wrong with the thread. I can only go back to about 11:06 on the. I don't know, further back. That's okay. I'm starting to get further back now on the questions. But I've got one question which I'm going to bring up first, guys. And it's. I think I didn't really go onto Twitter to ask for many questions because I like to try and get the questions from the show, really. But just to start us off, FPL_Sapix. I like Crystal Palace fixtures. Do you guys think they're worth a shout? The likes of PVA, Zaha, and Eze, for example. What's your view, Gabe, on Palace?
Yes, I'm very interested. So, and I will probably be moving Gundogan to Zaha next game week. Most likely, I'm not sure yet. But City face Liverpool, and Zaha. Who does he face next week? Who does Palace face? Someone easy. I don't remember.
Very good fixture.
Palace. They've got Newcastle, Leeds, Burnley, Brighton.
So Gundogan to Zaha, I think is a good shout. Palace's fixtures are really fantastic. So I think Zaha is a great player to bring in right now.
Do you know the fixture difficulty hates them, don't you?
Hates Palace.
Absolutely hates them. They are bright red. They're fifth bottom for XG, sixth bottom for big chances created, fifth bottom for shots in box over the season. And the last three, and I know it was against Wolves, West Ham and City, right? They're bottom for XG. They're sixth bottom for big chances, and they're bottom for shots in box. But that said, Zaha is involved in around 30% of everything they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they might not create much, but if anybody does, it'll be Zaha. Is my view. Sorry, any view?
Yeah, if anyone is trying to get his Palace attacker, it has to be Zaha, I think. But I'm still not sold by the fact that their number looks very not so great. But if someone wants to move and get in Crystal Palace play, it has to be Zaha. Yeah.
Okay.
Mariner, just so you know, I'm throwing some questions up in our chat. I'll take them from the YouTube chat and I'll throw them up there. So if you want to go through those.
Yeah. Okay. I've got them here. I'm just running through them now. So I've got Ash Stories. Robertson as a captain for the next game week. Oh God. Oh God. I mean, Brighton. They've also looked like they can score goals. To be honest, I mean, did you see the clearance, the last ditch clearance? But I think was it? Oh, they blocked by. Was it Alderweireld? Well, that would have been 2-0. How he's kept that out at the end, I don't know. What's your view, Gabe?
I think I would captain a defender if they have a high likelihood of getting an attacking return, in addition to the baseline of a clean sheet. And I don't think there's a high likelihood of an attacking return for Robertson against Brighton, especially if Brighton sit their wing backs with their back three, which I think they will against Liverpool. So I like the thinking, but I would go for an easier matchup from easier attack FDR.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, look, I want to sell him. I just want to sell him. I want to sell him so much. But the trouble is, the moment I sell him, he's going to do a Trent to me, isn't he? That's what's going to happen. He's going to return. It's only a matter of time before he returns. I don't think he's a captaincy option personally, though. I wouldn't captain him. I'd be wanting to see some involvement. There isn't even any XG. He's just not or XA. He's just not getting involved. They seem very withdrawn. Both of them at the moment. It's very unlike Liverpool to me. I don't know about what you guys think, but oh dear. Right. I'm just looking down now. So. Or is it Son without Kane is like playing with 1.5 legs? Right, just looking for more questions.
Rakesh is asking, Son, keep or sell for Pereira or Zaha now? What do you do with Son these days? Given that he's only on 1.5 legs or 2.5 legs, I don't know how that math works out.
And the only thing I would say, my view is, I think next week's a really tough captaincy week, actually. And I think if as much as we've said what we've said, they play West Brom next week, don't they? So
I think you have to keep Son.
I don't think I would sell him. There's also probably a very juicy double game week coming up in 26, which makes me think that I'd want to keep him. I wouldn't be moving Son out personally. I'm just flicking down. Have you got any more there, Gabe?
Yeah, I have one here from Virgil van Dijk. Will bringing Cresswell be a good idea? Will he have a double in 26?
I haven't got Ben Crellin's fixture thing up. Who are they meant to be?
So I'll start. I don't know if he'll have a double in 26. I haven't looked at Ben Crellin's stuff very recently, but I own Cresswell, so and I'm happy to own him. He's a great asset. But I bought him at 5.0 or 5.1. I don't know that I would be buying Cresswell at 5.5, which I think that's his price now. I think he's still a great asset, but if I were investing now, I'd probably save the 0.9 million and go for Kufal or the 0.8 million, whatever that difference is, and just go for Kufal.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple of decent fixtures coming up, haven't they?
Yep.
I think 24 and 25. And then, yeah, I mean, I think probably a cheaper option is probably a better there, really. Lots of comments. I'm just looking for not that many questions by what I can see anyway. Just looking down. Have you seen any others, boys?
There's one here from the 38 FPL podcast. Just did Gundog to Salah. Did I F up? I'm scared.
Gundo to Salah.
Ooh.
Nah, I mean, look.
Surya doesn't like it. Surya's afraid.
No, it's a weird move. Yeah, that's it.
It's a weird move.
It's probably got about 50 million in the bank or something like that, like the rest of us. He can't decide what to spend his money on.
No,
go and buy a TV or something.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, what's his name? Philosophy of expectations goes and buys a washing machine and then posts it on the group chat. So there we go. Instead of spending all your money on Salah, go buy a washing machine or something. I don't know.
I don't think that's a terrible move, to be honest, because Gundogan is on the wrong side of central midfield in the next matchup. Or no, yeah, he'll be on the left side of central midfield when against Burnley. Most of the action happens on the right. I still think he's a good pick for this week. But then after this week, they have Liverpool, right? So I'm assuming he's playing a little bit of hokey cokey here, and the idea would be to bring another City asset back in. As long as that's the plan, I think that move is okay.
No, I mean, I must admit, I mentioned it earlier, given the fact if you are set on wildcarding, and I've not decided yet, to be honest, but if you're set on wildcarding, then now is the time to be able to do a bit of the hokey cokey and not really worry about it. So, like you said, the Mahrez shout. If you're dead set on wildcarding, it's not the most stupid move, because then you could go to Son next week. Right. If you've got a bit of money in the bank, and then because to be honest, I mean, talking about next week, at this moment in time, I look like I'm going to be captaining Antonio against Fulham. That's my thinking, because I was originally going to be owning Kane. And of course, now I can't. So I'm thinking, well, what do I do? Do I bring in Son and captain him, or do I just go with Antonio? So these are the sort of like the questions that we're going to have to think about in the next few weeks. Is these, the term? There's been this thing on Twitter about all these different terms for FPL. One of them is upside chasing, isn't it? So you have a hunt around. But I mean, at the end of the day, Son is still really, really highly owned. So if Son goes off against West Brom, he's going to kill you if you don't own him.
Yeah, you should own him.
Absolutely kill you. Right. I did see one. It looks like Siver, friend from the opening day show. Is it criminal benching Son this week? I don't even own him. Gabe, do you own him?
Yes, I own Son.
Are you playing him?
I don't know. Probably, I'll probably play him, but I'm tempted to play Holding instead of Son. Has Wolves away, really nice matchup. But I don't know yet. I haven't made that decision. But I don't think it's crazy to bench Son. I've been chatting with a couple different people, and somebody was going to bench Gundogan, for example, this week, and I told them if it's between those two, I'd bench Son over Gundogan. Interesting.
Surya, do you own him?
Nope, I don't own him. But if I do own him, I start. You never know. Suddenly I got reminded of that Burnley goal in which he ran all by himself and he scored a worldie out of nowhere. So he's that kind of player who can just get going on his own. So if I own him, I'll definitely pay him. No second thoughts about that.
Yeah.
Shiva, I'm sorry about that fact, because I saw you bench him for Gundogan. So tough decisions to be made there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think if I had him, I would probably play him, because I think he's probably on penalties. So, I think I would just have a habit of playing him, not really overthink it too much. That's my own thought. But hey ho, yeah, I don't own him. Oh dear. I don't think there's much else. I think if that's
we have one more. We have Virgil van Dijk just threw another one in there. He says, I currently got DCL, Watkins, Antonio. I'm looking to bring in Bamford, but don't know who to take out.
So he's got DCL who?
Watkins and Antonio, and he wants Bamford.
DCL, Watkins, Antonio. Well, when did? Yeah, it'd be nice to have a fourth spot, wouldn't it? Nice to have a fourth striker, really. I don't know that I would take. I don't know that I would do it. I think what are Leeds fixtures like? I mean, I know he's just gone. He's just gone. You know, grade 1 Lionel Messi, but it could just as easily turn back into a wheelie bin. So, and he's got a knock, hasn't he?
He does have a knock. He should be okay, but he's on a yellow flag right now. Would you do that, Surya? Would you bring in Bamford for any one of those?
Yeah, I would. He himself basically confirmed that it's a dead leg and he'll be ready for the next game. So yeah, he went on and had fun. He went on and had fun. He too got in DCL for a fact. He too got in DCL for his FPL team, and he didn't captain himself. And he was ranting that I didn't captain myself this week. So yeah, he pretty much confirmed that he's just a dead leg and he'll be fit to start. Yeah.
So who are you going to? Would you take him out? Who would you take out though out of those for Bamford? It's not an easy question, right?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, this from the Swings question, right? Should I bench Bamford or DCL? This from that one.
It's DCL, Watkins, Antonio, and wants to bring Bamford in.
Watkins. I think that's pretty close one. Probably Watkins. Watkins.
I wouldn't get rid of Watkins because Villa do have a double coming up real soon. But what I would do is if that's a move that VVD wants to make here, I wouldn't make that move this week. I would play the players you have this week. Bamford plays against Everton. Who knows how that's going to go? You know, Bamford could do well. Obviously, we don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. Obviously, after last week, but I would give DCL one more shot against Leeds, and after this week, bring Patrick Bamford in for DCL. Bamford plays Palace next week, and
that's a very interesting point. Yeah,
and DCL plays United. So I would make that move next week, and I would stay put this week.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I just feel like keeping the money till Kane's back and then just bringing him in personally. That's me. It's my plan all along. Completely got absolutely clobbered by that. FPL swing. Should I bench Bamford or DCL? Surya?
No, I think.
What a horrible question.
So horrible question. I think they both play each other, and I'm pretty sure the one I'm gonna tell will blank, and the one I'm gonna tell to bench will score. So
heads or tails, Swain? That's so tough. That's just. I mean, look, if it was me, I don't like playing defenders against attackers. So if I, for example, had Digne in my team, I would probably bench Bamford.
He says he could start both, but bench Dean.
Well, that might not be such a bad call, actually, because I suppose I'm not quite sure. You know, given the way Leeds are playing, can you see Dean? He's probably not going to keep a clean sheet, right? I don't think.
No, but I could see him. I could see him getting an assist exactly.
Yeah,
on a set piece or something.
It's tough. Can he start all three?
Start all of them. Start all three and bench Son, I think is what we're trying to say.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to take one more question, and I'm going to wrap up because we're nearly coming to an hour and a half now. And again, Virgil van Dijk is very popular. I wonder if it's the real one. Any idea what to do with Rafinha? Surya?
Yeah, I think I'm the Leeds fanboy over here. I'm getting directed all Leeds question. Yeah, I think he's written it in last 2 games, and he's looked good. So I would definitely hold. I think it's a question of hold or sell. So I would hold at least for another week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what he intends to mean by
again. He's got a knock. He's got a knock, hasn't he? So I think there's not 100% sure whether he's going to play or not. So I've not, to be honest, I've not seen any of the press conferences at all. I've not seen any news at all. I've been too busy rushing around trying to get the show ready, to be honest, tonight, given the short turnaround. So anyway, guys.
I think the press conference is tomorrow, so maybe we'll get a better clarity or close to the deadline. Yeah.
I mean, look, we'll keep an eye out on these things, and I mean, we're all pretty active on Twitter anyway. So yeah, that's that. I think so. I think we'll knock the questions on the head at that point. I'll just move it around to get everybody on the screen. So, guys, once again, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Lens, again, another early morning start with coffee and toast. So.
Coffee, just coffee for now.
And Surya rushes home from work in India to do the same, and from my perspective, it's midnight. So
you gotta sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna try not to cock the end of the show up like I did last week, Surya. Because so anyway, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
And that's that, everybody. Thank you very much, as always. Thanks to Surya. Thanks to Lens for their great input. As you know, second to none as far as I'm concerned. We really are trying to set ourselves apart from other YouTube channels in the fact that we are stat heavy. We are trying our best to give you something a little bit different, and I hope you enjoy it. So if you did, please give us a like. Please hit the subscribe button as well, and also the bell. So that you get reminded when we're up next, which is going to be Friday night. So yeah, apart from that, I think there's not a great deal else to say, but Patrick Bamford, if you do this, if I play you, score a hat-trick. If I don't, just behave. And as for that, I think that's enough. Oh, and Callum Wilson as well. Watch it. All the best, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.